And nobody talks about the REL reason your relationships don't last.
On this call, I will be discussing the reasons why you keep attracting the same relationships. And this doesn't have to be just intimate relationships. This can be with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and your neighbors. So whilst I'm talking about this topic, I would love it for you to reflect on your own lives, really get comfy, relax into this. As Tamara said, get your pen and notepad ready, have a nice drink next to you. And so first, I will be asking you a series of questions. And the first question I'm going to ask is, have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep attracting the same types of toxic relationships? Why do I have drama in my life? Why can't I seem to keep a relationship long term or maintain a relationship? Why do I have toxic people in my life? Have you ever asked yourself any of those questions? And do you know what? There's no shame in this, because I have. I did for 10 years ask myself, why do I keep attracting these people into my life? I'm a good person. I do good things for people. And I will reveal to you more about what those people were like so you can relate a little bit. But I want you to know you aren't broken. Nothing needs fixing. And you are repeating the same patterns based on your imprints. So the next question I want to ask is, have you heard of an imprint or an imprint phase? I'd love to hear your answers in the comment. There's no right or wrong. Have you ever heard of an imprint phase? Okay, whilst I wait for some comments, I'll explain it to you. So an imprint phase is a situation or an event that has happened to you which creates two meanings. And I'll explain the meanings in a moment. But they happen to you around the ages of 0 to 1, 5 to 7, 11 to 13, and 18 to 21. So if you can reflect back on your life about any times that potential things may have happened to you, this doesn't have to be a big event. It can be something significant emotionally, but it doesn't have to be a major event. Something that impacted you. And in those moments, we as humans, we're meaning-making machines. We make meaning of things so we can understand what they are. We make two meanings. The first meaning is a racket. So that racket is not so positive, and then we make a strong suit. And so I'm going to explain a little example of one of my own imprint phases. And that happened to me when I was 5 years old. I was just about 6 years old. My parents got divorced. And you would probably think, well, this is quite a common thing that happens these days. 50% of marriages divorce. Not after they see me. So what happened in that moment? I made the two meanings. The first meaning was my racket, which is I'm unlovable and men were unreliable. The second meaning was I needed to understand why relationships break down so I didn't repeat that for myself in my life. And so I'll explain how the racket came to fruition, but you can clearly see that my strong suit came to fruition as I'm a love expert. So I didn't want this to happen to my life, and now I help others avoid it or rectify it for their own lives. And so how did my racket play out in my life? Well, my racket played out in my life because I consistently attracted toxic people into my life. My first boyfriend, he disappeared after 2 years, just without a trace. And I'm showing my age here because it predated mobile phones and social media, so I couldn't find him or know how to track him down. He did find me 10 years later, actually, after I'd done all the inner work and explained what had happened and apologized. My second partner, I walked in on him cheating on me with my best friend. And do you know what the interesting part of that is I suppressed that memory for 6 months. I had no recollection of me walking in on him with my best friend and seeing what was going on. I had blocked that until 6 months later when I went out for lunch with my friend, and she said to me, "Oh, Belinda, I can't believe you're still my friend after what happened." I thought it was a dream, but it was real. And so I ended that relationship. 6 months too late. The next one, he was domestically violent. He was very abusive, physically, emotionally, a textbook narcissist, portraying himself as a comedian. That was his role. And it was at that point I had realized something isn't right. Why is this repeating in my life? And I'm not victim blaming. I'm being accountable. And I realized that I was the common denominator. I was the common denominator in my life, and I was the magnet, the beacon. My beliefs became the hologram or the reality of my life. And my beliefs were I was unlovable and men were unreliable. And that showed up for me. My imprint was playing out in my life, in real life, as a hologram. It was fascinating to actually realize. Now, as I'm talking about this, I'd love to hear from any of you if you can recall any imprints that you potentially may have had. There's no shame or embarrassment. This is the real inner work that we're doing on this call, because I don't want you to repeat these patterns like I did for years and years and years. And so I wonder, Tamara's taking notes. That's amazing. Thank you so much. So this conversation isn't to scare you or to blame you or to put fear into you. This is a conversation to create awareness, because without the awareness, you can't have the acknowledgement, you can't find the peace and the forgiveness, and you can't heal what is going on, and you can't shift these patterns. The neural growth factor, the NGF, that is what stores our imprints, and you can. The good news is you can shift them. So now I'm going to do a little exercise with you. I want you to look around the room, and I'd love for you to count how many things that you see that are red. How many red objects are in your room? I know Tamara has a few with her beautiful backdrop. And if you can, just comment, because if you're watching live or the replay, I'd love your engagement. This makes it so much more fun for me. So I want you to think again, when you were looking for all of the red objects, how many blue objects did you see? None, right? And why this is so significant is because our imprints become the focus or the forefront of our minds. And that is how they become the hologram, because we are now looking for these red flags. Red flags, not objects, because we're looking for the things we want to avoid. But then we manifest them, or we attract them, or they come into our lives, because that is how the mind works. It feels familiar. It feels safe. The mind and the body wants to keep us in survival mode. So even though it's not serving us, it will show it to us because that is what is familiar to us. So until we rewire the NGF, the imprints of our lives, to find the blue objects, we're going to repeat those patterns consistently. And this doesn't, like I said in the beginning, this doesn't just apply for intimate relationships. This applies for your jobs, your friendships, anything that is showing up for you. So whilst I'm talking, potentially things are flooding into your memory bank right now. Write them down, jot them down. I want to quickly go over with you the 7 common love blocks. The 7 common love blocks: FOMO, the fear of missing out; the deadline, putting a timeline on when you find love; a worthiness piece, thinking that you're not worthy of love; dates, I'm over dating, I'm over the dating apps, that's a love block. No one wants or makes a commitment to me. Fear of rejection, so if you fear rejection, that becomes your love block. And if you fear commitment, that then also becomes a love block. So they're the 7 common love blocks. There are more, but they're the most common that I have discovered in my line of work over the years of being a conscious love expert. And so what I want to explain, I'll give you 2 examples now. So for example, if you have a fear of commitment, you will constantly meet emotionally unavailable people. Because you're fearing commitment, you don't want to find someone who wants a commitment, so you keep meeting those who stand you up, ghost you, want situationships. If you have a fear of missing out, FOMO, like you're never going to meet the one, you will meet the people that don't want a commitment, actually physically don't want a commitment, and then you feel like you are consistently something is wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. You don't need fixing. We just need to uncover the imprints of your life so that we can rewire them, so that you can attract the conscious love that you truly, truly deserve. So I could talk about this all night, days, weeks, hours. I have a course that I run, the Soulmate Magnet Method, but I also would love to offer you my free quiz to uncover what potentially your love block is. And I know that will be passed on to you. But thank you so much for listening. That is the reasons why you're attracting the same relationships. And I hope that you've taken something away from this conversation.
And every story can change the world. Together we are global speakers talk.